Okay, so in this video, I wanted to cover some automatic conversions for tax classifications for LLCs. So the 8832 is an entity classification election. So generally, you file this for a new entity to change its tax classification from the default rule to an alternative tax treatment, right? So subject to certain limitations. So the question posed here is, do you need to file this for all types of changes in entity taxation? The answer is no, right? There are some circumstances where filing the form 8832 is necessary, and then others where it's not, right? In the cases where it's not necessary, it's because the change happens automatically. So here we have a single member LLC and then a multi-member LLC examples, and these are situations where you would have an automatic change. So the first one here, a single member LLC that's a disregarded entity, it automatically becomes a partnership for federal tax purposes when a new person is added. So the automatic change requests, or automatic change, I should say, it's not necessarily a request, it just happens, under Treasury Reg 301-7701-3F2. Okay, so a single member entity that's disregarded as an entity separate from its owner is classified as a partnership when the entity has more than one member. So this is the automatic change. You don't have to file an 8832 to change the entity from a DRE into a partnership. So here's an example. John's the sole owner of a Wyoming LLC, and it's a disregarded entity, right? That's the default treatment because John's the 100% owner. John reports all the income and expense on a Schedule C of this Form 1040, right? That's appropriate. And then on June 30th, 2021, John admits a new business partner to his LLC. Adam contributes $10,000 in cash to the LLC in exchange for a 20% interest in the LLC units, right? So once Adam is admitted as the owner on June 30th, the LLC automatically converts to a partnership. It does not need to file this 8832 to elect partnership tax treatment. Now, John still has to report the LLC income from Jan 1, 2021 to June 30th on his Schedule C because the entity was still a disregarded entity where he was the 100% owner for that one half of the year. And then July 1 through the rest of the year, the LLC is filing a Form 1065 partnership tax return to report the activities of the entity for that part of the calendar year. So that's a very common fact pattern that happens, right? So again, you don't file an 8832 to make this change. It just happens automatically. Now, what about a multi-member LLC going the other way, right? Becoming a disregarded entity. Again, this is found in the same section of the regs, right? An eligible entity classified as a partnership becomes disregarded as an entity separate from its owner when the entity's membership is reduced to one member. Okay, so let's look at this example. Frank and Sarah, partners in a Delaware LLC, they each own 50%. So by default, this was a partnership for federal tax purposes. So the company's been filing a Form 1065 partnership return every year. Now, on November 1st, 2021, Sarah decides she no longer wants to be part of the business. So Frank buys her out. He buys her one half of the LLC. Now, once Frank purchases the membership interest, he owns 100% of the entity. Now, the LLC, because it's now 100% owned by one person, it becomes a single member LLC, a disregarded entity for federal tax purposes. The partnership tax status terminates, right? It terminates automatically. So the LLC files a Form 1065 for the period from Jan 1, 2021 to November 1st, 2021, right, the day it terminated. So you get a 1065 for that period, and then from November 2nd through the rest of the year, so those 2 months, because it's a single member LLC that's a DRE, Frank can report the income and expense on his Schedule C of the Form 1040. Right, so that's again an automatic change. You don't file an 8832 to elect to be taxed as a DRE. It just happens automatically. Now, if we expand upon this hypothetical, Frank can, after he owns 100% of the company, he could file, let's say, an s-corp election, right? That's appropriate. So if he wanted to elect s-corp status beginning November 2nd, he could do that. He could elect c-corp status if he wanted to as well, but As a single member LLC, it can no longer be a partnership, right? You need at least 2 members. So that's, there's a bunch of other automatic change requests that apply, but these are, 2 of the most common that we see in practice. So hopefully that was helpful, clarified some of the circumstances where you don't actually need to file this form. And thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next video. Thank you.